Stand at the edge of a big highway interchange job in Texas in the spring of 2025 and count the machines. There is a Komatsu intelligent dozer cutting grade by itself. There's a long-reach excavator trimming a slope that a dozer used to push. There is a motor grader laser flat across the subgrade. And the one yellow machine on the lot is a small Caterpillar D4 compact dozer, the size of a pickup truck, parked off to the side. For most of 100 years, the picture was the opposite. The biggest, loudest, most respected thing on any job site was a yellow cat dozer with a giant blade and an elevated sprocket. Now you can walk a dozen modern sites and barely find one. In the financed equipment numbers for 2024, buyers in the entire country put their money on fewer than 5,000 new bulldozers all year. The top sellers were not the famous giants. They were the little ones. Something happened to the machine that built the image of Caterpillar. Today, we follow the trail. Let us be clear about what this video is and is not. Caterpillar is not bankrupt. Caterpillar just posted the highest sales in its history. So why are the yellow dozers vanishing from the dirt where the company made its name? That is the real story, and it is stranger than a simple decline. Start with the throne, because you cannot understand the fall without the height of it. The bulldozer is the machine that made the word Caterpillar mean something to people who never bought one. Back in the 1920s, a tractor maker in Illinois bet everything on tracks instead of wheels, and the track-type tractor became the tool that cut roads, cleared land, and dug the foundations of the modern country. The company turned 100 years old in 2025, and for almost all of that century, the dozer was the face of it. By the time the Second World War came, cat dozers were landing on beaches and building airfields under fire, and soldiers learned the yellow machine could outwork anything. After the war, they built the interstate highway system, mile by mile, leveled the hills for the suburbs, and stripped the overburden off half the mines on the continent. The yellow paint and the black letters became a symbol of work itself. A boy who grew up watching a cat dozer clear his county wanted to run one someday. That feeling was worth more than any advertisement, and Caterpillar earned every bit of it with iron that did not quit. Then came the design that put Caterpillar a full generation ahead. In 1977, Cat introduced the D10 with an elevated sprocket, the high drive, which lifted the drive gear up off the ground and away from the mud and rock that chewed up every other dozer. It started as a small test run of 10 machines, powered by a 700 horsepower engine. Operators loved it because it lasted. In 1986, Cat scaled the idea up into the D11, a machine so large it became the standard against which every other dozer on Earth was measured. For decades, if you wanted the best big dozer made anywhere, you bought the one painted yellow. That was the throne. If you want to watch Caterpillar keep losing ground, subscribe to Quisoup. If you are watching on your TV, find Quisoup and hit subscribe there. Now the crack, and here is where you have to name names. Somewhere along the way, the people running Caterpillar stopped thinking like builders and started thinking like a finance company that happens to own factories. Wall Street rewards a manufacturer for two things: fatter margins and steady parts revenue. So the priorities quietly shifted. The machine stopped being the point. The machine became the hook that locked you into decades of dealer service, dealer software, and dealer-priced parts. Owners noticed, first, in the small things. A part that used to ship in 2 days started taking 2 weeks. A repair that an owner could once do in his own yard now threw a fault code that only a dealer laptop could clear. The truck still ran, but the screen said no. This is the dealer software lockout, and it is documented, not invented. When a sensor on a modern CAT machine triggers a code, the diagnostic and the reset can be gated behind manufacturer-approved software that independent shops and owners cannot legally buy. Caterpillar leans on the same copyright law, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, that the company argues lets it keep that software locked. CAT is not alone in this. John Deere fought the very same fight with farmers, and the right to repair movement grew up around exactly this complaint. But Caterpillar wears the crown of the heavy iron world, so when the crown locks the gate, operators take it personally. The result is a generation of owners who feel like they no longer own the machine they paid for. They own a license to use it until it needs a dealer. Think about what that does to the math of owning a dozer. The purchase price was always only half the story. The other half is the years of parts, the dealer rate per hour, the downtime while a machine sits dead in the yard waiting on a laptop. When a competitor's machine can be fixed faster and cheaper, The famous name starts to look expensive in a way the sticker never showed. Caterpillar even rolled out a service promise that pays the customer if a common repair takes longer than 2 days, which tells you the company knows that slow service became the complaint. Be fair to the iron here. A Cat dozer is still a real machine, built well, and the dealer network is still the largest in the world. But respect is a bank account, and the company spent down the balance one parts invoice at a time. Now, the bigger truth, the one that even loyal Cat owners will admit, the dozer is not just losing to other brands. The dozer as a category is shrinking, and that is partly technology, not just Caterpillar's failure. Walk a modern earth-moving site and watch what actually moves the dirt. The large excavator does work a dozer used to do, loading trucks and trimming slopes while sitting in one spot. The motor grader, guided by satellite, lays a finish grade flatter than any blade hand could by feel. And the work that still needs a dozer is increasingly done by a smaller dozer running automatic blade control, because a 30-ton machine with a computer can now hold a grade that used to demand a 70-ton machine and a master operator. The job did not disappear. The job got divided up and handed to other tools. When one excavator and one grader can cover what once took a big dozer and a crew, you simply need fewer big yellow dozers on the lot. Look at what people actually bought in 2024, and the shift jumps off the page. The best-selling new dozers in the country were the small ones. The top model was a compact Cat D4, then a compact D5, then a small D3, with a mid-size John Deere and a small Komatsu rounding out the leaders. Not one of the famous giants made the everyday bestseller list. The D11 still exists, still does its job in the biggest mines on Earth, but in unit terms, it is a rounding error next to the little machines that finish house pads and grade parking lots. The market did not just move to other brands. It moved to smaller dozers doing narrower jobs, while the heavy work that built the legend gets handed to excavators and graders. The giant yellow dozer became a specialty item, and a specialty item is a museum piece in waiting. And here is the part that should sting in Peoria. The technology that shrank the dozer category, automatic blade control, guided by satellite, was led into the dirt by the rival, not by Caterpillar. In 2013, Komatsu put the first fully automatic intelligent blade dozer into the field, factory built, no cables to bolt on, the satellite system deciding when to cut and when to carry. Komatsu calls it intelligent machine control. A green dozer could put a first-year operator within reach of a veteran's finish grade. By some estimates, that automation cuts grading time by more than half. While Caterpillar was busy protecting its parts and service margins, the rival was busy making the operator look like a genius. Owners do not forget who did that for them. Quick break before we get into what happened next. If you have been on this channel for a while, watching how Cat lost its way, there is a way to make sure you do not miss what is coming. Join the operator tier for $4.99 a month. You get badges that mark you as a working professional in the comments section, custom emoji to call out the corporate decisions that killed Cat, and you get every video 24 hours before the rest of the internet. To join, open your phone and search Quisoup membership, or go to the channel page and tap join. Join the operators and engineers who are paying attention. Now, back to it. So who is taking the dozers that are still being bought? Look at Japan first. Komatsu sits second in the world and number 1 across the whole of Asia, and it climbed there by treating the operator as a partner instead of a captive. For the operators who still dream about raw size, remember that the biggest production dozer ever built wore Komatsu green, the D5, 75, a machine that could push enough dirt in one pass to fill several large dump trucks. Only a few dozen of those giants were ever made, and Komatsu finally retired the model after demand for that much raw iron dried up, which is its own quiet proof that the era of the monster dozer is closing. The everyday flagship today is the D475, a roughly 900 horsepower dozer that mines and quarries around the world still trust. Below it, the D375 and the smaller, intelligent dozers do the daily work, and they do it with the automatic blade that owners actually wanted. The point is not that Komatsu builds bigger than Cat. The point is that when an operator tells you which dozer he would rather run today, more and more often the answer is green, and that answer used to be unthinkable. Then look at Europe, where Liebherr quietly took the lead in its home region. Liebherr builds its dozers with a hydrostatic drive, which means infinitely smooth control and no gears to shift, and operators who run them talk about them the way people used to talk about cat. In some European numbers, Liebherr now sits ahead of Caterpillar on its own continent, with John Deere also crowding the field. That would have been unthinkable a generation ago, when the only argument on a European site was which size of cat to order. And then, look at China, because this is the part that the rest of the industry tried to ignore for too long. The largest bulldozer maker on Earth by volume is no longer in Illinois or Japan. It is Shantui in China, building more than 10,000 dozers a year. Shantui holds well over half of the gigantic Chinese market, and by some estimates, around 1/10 of the entire world, which puts it third on the planet by share. Its machines reach more than 170 countries. Add Sany pushing the same way, and you have Chinese dozers landing in Africa, the Middle East, Russia, and Southeast Asia at a price a contractor cannot ignore. A Shantui dozer might cost a fraction of the yellow equivalent. For a contractor, in a developing market, watching every dollar, the choice between a famous name with a locked computer and a capable machine he can actually afford and fix is not a hard one. Brand loyalty does not pour concrete. Price and uptime do. There is one more thing worth noticing, and it is almost poetic. At the big construction equipment show in Munich in 2025, the show called Bauma, Caterpillar celebrated its 100th birthday by rolling out a dozer painted in a special Centennial Gray instead of the famous yellow. It was a D6 with a diesel-electric drive system, the company's answer to the new world. A gray cat dozer at the company's own Centennial. Read that however you want, but the most recognizable color in the history of earth-moving was, for that one machine, set aside. The rivals, meanwhile, were busy showing electric excavators and automated machines that do the work with fewer operators and fewer dozers. Now the proof, because a channel like this gets fact-checked in the comments, and it should. Here is the number that tells the whole story. In its centennial year of 2025, Caterpillar reported its highest sales ever, roughly $68 billion. Sounds like a company winning. But read where the growth came from. The boom was in engines and power generation for data centers, the machinery that runs the artificial intelligence build-out. Meanwhile, the construction industry segment, the part that actually sells dozers and excavators for dirt, shrank quarter after quarter all year long, with profit in that segment falling by double digits in some quarters, even as the company set records overall. Caterpillar's record year was built on power plants, not on bulldozers. The yellow dozer did not lift the company. The company grew, in spite of the dozer's decline. That is the quiet truth behind the trophy. Stack it together, and the picture is clear. The famous giants barely sell. The everyday dozers that do sell are small, compact machines. The growth in the wider market belongs to excavators and graders, and to rivals who automated faster. The biggest dozer builder on Earth is now Chinese. And the company that invented the modern dozer is making its real money somewhere else entirely. The yellow paint is still respected. It is just not where the work is going. There is a pattern here, and it is older than Caterpillar. A company builds the best product in the world, earns total trust, and then a new generation of leaders decides the trust itself is the asset to be harvested. They squeeze the parts. They lock the software. They protect the margin. And for a while, the numbers look great, because reputation is slow to spend. But efficiency always wins in the dirt. The rival who makes the operator faster, the upstart who makes the machine cheaper, the technology that does the same job with less iron, all of them keep advancing while the famous name guards its toll booth. By the time the famous name notices, the job site has already moved on. It is not loud. It is not a crash. It is just one fewer yellow machine on each lot, every year, until you look up and the dozers are a different color. You can see the same story in other industries if you know where to look. The camera company that owned the film aisle, the phone maker that owned every pocket, the car maker that owned the family driveway. Each of them was the best in the world right up until they decided being the best meant they could stop trying. Caterpillar is not finished, and the dozer is not extinct. So this is not a eulogy. But the warning is real. A brand can be loved and shrinking at the same time. The yellow dozer is proof that affection does not protect market share, and that the moment a great machine becomes a toll booth, somebody on the other side of the world starts building a road around it. Komatsu built the operator a faster machine. Liebherr built him a smoother one. Shantui built him a cheaper one. And the satellite blade built the contractor a way to need fewer of all of them. Caterpillar, for too long, built itself a better invoice. So here's the question worth arguing about. Is the Caterpillar dozer disappearing because of technology that no company could have stopped? The excavators and the graders and the satellite blades that simply need fewer dozers? Or is it disappearing because Caterpillar stopped earning its yellow paint and let the rivals take the operator's loyalty? Tell me in the comments. One more thing before you go. If you really want to be part of the inner circle on this channel, join the Site Foreman for $9.99 a month. You get a public shout out in upcoming videos. Your name, your operation, your story, validated in front of the entire QuiSoup audience. Plus, everything from the operator tier. To join, open your phone and search QuiSoup membership, or go to the channel page and tap join. Here is the thought to chew on. Caterpillar did not lose the bulldozer to a better bulldozer. It lost the bulldozer to a world that decided it needed fewer of them, and then handed the ones it still needed to anybody who treated the operator with more respect. The throne is still there. The yellow machine just is not sitting on it anymore. See you in the next one.